Ascent. I'm Molly Carmel, and this is the podcast I always wish existed. A bite sized, on the ground spiritual note that can shift your thinking and your outlook on life to help make us all a little bit more awake, alive, and ascending. So, truth is really, I hope, the love language here at Daily Ascent. And so I want to give you a little bit of a vulnerable one. Because I think that the most useful thing that I can do sometimes is not, just teach you from the mountain, but sit with you in the valley. And I had a really great experience of sitting in the valley that I'm going to talk to you about today. And it has to do with Mother's Day. I had a particularly hard Mother's Day this year. And, you know, I love my mother so much. She's just the absolute best. She's the GOAT. She's the greatest of all time. She's genuinely one of my best friends. And I could spend days and days and days like locked in a closet with her. And I have two younger brothers that are much, much younger than me. They came from my mother's second marriage. One is 13 years younger than me, and one is 15 years younger than me. And so we all gathered at my younger brother's place. And there was this other young man, 15 years younger than me, that my mom sort of like adopted through the years. And so everybody was at my youngest brother's house. And I don't know why this hit me. Like everyone was so young and everyone was coupled. And I walked in, and it was like immediately I just felt this wave of something that I can only describe as grief. And it was interesting, right? It's funny, I was going to say weird, but it's not weird. It's interesting because weird is very judgmental and interesting is very curious. And so I wasn't grieving about my mom. And I don't know if I was grieving about anything happening in the room. I might have been. But I just felt really other. And I don't ever feel this way. Really, I don't. But I just felt really old. And I felt really single. And I felt really outside of something that I just quite couldn't name. Um, these things don't usually touch me, my age or my relationship status. They really matter not at all to me usually. But in that day, in that room, it really, really did. And I was feeling really nauseous and really paralyzed and just kind of like this sad that doesn't have a clean explanation and really doesn't respond to logic. You know how that is? Like I knew what was true, but my feelings were like, no, you don't belong here. This is weird, right? And so you can imagine my relief when my brother asked if I could help in the kitchen. I've like never run so fast to a kitchen in the history of my life. I was like, yep, put me to work, coach, because it just gave me somewhere to put myself and something to do with my hands and something to do with my brain and a reason to be a little bit apart from the room without having to explain why. And I didn't make it mean anything permanent. I didn't catastrophize. I didn't build a story on top of it. I just felt it and I stayed in it as gracefully as I could and I let the day pass. And so that brings me to our pocket sage today. And we have a new sage in the house, Susan Cain, and her book Bittersweet: How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole. How good is that? How good is that? And here's what she has to say. If we could honor sadness a little more, maybe we could see it, rather than enforced smiles and righteous outrage, as the bridge we need to connect with each other. We could remember that no matter how radiant or fierce someone may appear, they have suffered, or they will. The secret that our poets and philosophers have been trying to tell us for centuries is that our longing is the great gateway to belonging. Great, right? Let me read that again for those of you in the back. If we could honor sadness a little more, maybe we could see it, rather than enforced smiles and righteous outrage, as the bridge we need to connect with each other. We could remember that no matter how radiant or fierce someone may appear, they have suffered, or they will. The secret that our poets and philosophers have been trying to tell us for centuries is that our longing is the great gateway to belonging. I mean, how good is that line? That our longing is the great gateway to belonging. You know, when I first read that sentence, it really did something to me because it really reframes that ache, right? The longing is not the problem, the longing is the door. And so, our word of the day today, I love this word so much, bittersweet, because it's exactly what it sounds like. And it's like a dialectic, right? It's two things happening at the exact same time, both things at once, right? The bitter and the sweet, inseparable, but arriving together. Like the joy of being with people you love and the ache of feeling slightly outside of it at the same time, right? The gratitude and the grief just harmoniously holding hands, right? And this reading is really saying that we've been taught to treat the bitter part as a problem. And I was doing that too, by the way, right? Something to fix or push or apologize for. But it's not a malfunction, bittersweet at all. It's really one of the most emotional states there is. I mean, the most honest emotional states there is, right? It's because it really is what happens when we're fully alive to the complexity of our own experience and honoring that. Letting it be what it is without demanding that it resolve isn't weakness. It's actually, I think it's courage. And so here's what I want us to be thinking about today. I want to give us all permission to have a hard day in a room full of people you love, because those things are not contradictions. They can be very true at the same time. And I want to say something about the enforced smile that the reading talks about directly, right? That performance of being fine when you're not quite fine, that decision to manage your feelings out of existence so that the room stays comfortable. Like, I know that performance. I've given it hundreds and thousands of times. I'm sure you have too. And I gave a version of it on Mother's Day, but I didn't give the whole thing. And I didn't do it in a dramatic way at all. I didn't burden anyone with the feelings or make the day about my sadness. I just didn't pretend it wasn't there, right? So I quietly helped in the kitchen and I let myself feel what I was feeling. And then I let the day pass. And here's what I know about that choice. It was really a very honest one. And I like that, right? Because even when it's quiet and private and nobody else can see it, like having an honest feeling is really, it's really important because it keeps you connected to yourself and it keeps the feeling from being sublimated and building pressure. And it lets the bittersweet be bittersweet, right? Instead of forcing it into something that it isn't. And again, I wasn't like huffing and puffing around this house. I was just a little bit more subdued, maybe than I usually am. And, you know, I'm thinking about all of you who are listening to this right now who've had a version of this day, right? The holiday that hit differently, the room full of people who seemed to have something that you didn't, the feeling of being on the outside of something you couldn't quite name. And, you know, namaste, man, me too. Like you're not alone in this and you're not broken for feeling it and you don't have to fix it or explain it or make it go away before you're allowed to be okay again. And I just want to have a little like follow up on this because I think it's quite important to say that the next day I did something that I actually think completed the feeling, which is what I'm taught to do spiritually, right? I told the truth about it to some of my closest friends, like people in my power circle, only two of them. But the people who know how to hold things for me, they're skilled, right? These are my long time go to ride or dies. And I shared what had happened and how I felt and just this extreme otherness of it. And they didn't try to fix it, right? Nobody rushed to reassure me that I did belong or reframe it or like they have problems too or make it mean something different. They just witnessed it and they let it be what it was. And they let something settle in me that just wouldn't have settled as quickly if I had kept it to myself. And that's belonging, right? Not in the room where we feel other, but in the circle where we can tell the truth about it the next morning. And I think it's a really important part of the story is that I put it somewhere, right? And the reading says our longing is the great gateway to belonging. And it's just so true and so hard at the same time, right? Because longing doesn't feel like a gateway when you're in it. It just feels like longing. But the willingness to feel it fully and not stuff it down or dress it up or pretend it isn't there is actually what keeps us connected to ourselves and to the people around us, right? And to the truth of what it actually means to be human. And this isn't breaking news to you, but the day passed and I'm more than fine. And I am so grateful for a mother worth celebrating and all these women in my life who have also parented me and watching my friends be parents and having my little dog that I get to mother and all my god kids and having a circle worth telling truth to. And honestly, I'm grateful that I let myself feel the hard part without making it like mean everything. And so, our reflective question for the day: what are you trying to smile through right now that might actually deserve to be felt? And I am right here with you, Ascenders, in the bittersweet, in the complexity, in the honesty of feeling what we actually feel. And so, if this one is landing with you, can you do me a big solid? Send it around. Send it around. Send it to everyone you know. Send it to people you like. Send it to people you don't like. We're going to grow this Ascender crew. We are going to grow this Ascender crew because the more, the merrier. And because we rise together. Until next time.